Just give it one more.
Hello and welcome back to the Nightcap. I'm Josh Rimmer on NextSportsStar.com. Joining us right now on the line, you could see him on FX playing Juice on the hit TV show Sons of Anarchy. He's also co-founder of Staten Strong. It's my great pleasure to join us on the show, Theo Rossi. Theo, thanks for taking the time to be with us, man.
Thanks for giving me the time, and it's a pleasure to be on. Thank you, guys.
Now, Theo, it was great. I mentioned this to you off the air. It was great meeting you at Radio Row in New Orleans. What did you think of the Super Bowl?
You know, for me, it's such an honor, to be invited every year. As a kid, playing football your whole life, you kind of dream about it. And what did I think this year? It was very different for me this year because I was, fully engulfed with all the players. Hanging out with them before it, and one of my really good buddies who I went down there with, Jay Glazer, is really intertwined with everybody. Huh. So it was a very different Super Bowl for me because I was really kind of immersed in it in a way. And but the game itself, man, how crazy! I mean, I had the greatest game ever last year because I saw the Giants win and beat the Patriots, who I just come on. And then to see, I was kind of on the fence. I didn't have who I wanted to go for, but I obviously wanted to see Kaepernick kind of do his thing, and I'm a big fan of Frank Gore and just the Niners in general from the history of the Niners. But then it was really hard not to get caught up in kind of the Ray Lewis, Ed Reed stuff that was going on.
Yeah.
But just the game in general, man. When that blackout happened, and the whole turnaround and the switch, it was pretty cool to be at. I mean, it was an honor, and it was just it was definitely one for the ages for me. One I'll never forget.
Theo, I gotta admit, I was laughing at you and Ron Perlman's picture during the blackout of the two of you guys sleeping.
Yeah. We were having a lot of fun during the blackout. He's a blast. Anytime him and I are together, what people don't know is, I mean, he truly is one of the funniest people I've ever been around. And he's a New Yorker like myself, but he's so the polar opposite of Clay. He's just a funny, down-to-earth, amazing guy. Just like your boy, my Canadian friend Tig. I mean, yeah. Kim is just the same way. So being with those guys, Kim was supposed to come to the Super Bowl. He's doing a job now out in Prague. And so he had to miss it, and that was a big loss for us. We love when he's with us.
Yeah, I've been talking to Kim quite a bit. Every time I talk to him, he's telling me how much filming he's doing and how exhausted he is. But I know he was disappointed he couldn't make it to the Super Bowl to hang out with you guys there in New Orleans, and I know he was probably pretty jealous about that. Theo, I want to talk to you about the charities you're involved in. You do a lot of work, and you co-founded Staten Strong. Tell us about Staten Strong. How did you come up with the idea, and how can people help?
It's pretty simple. I've been an ambassador for the Boot Campaign since 2009, kind of almost since the inception of the Boot Campaign. And Kim and I and a few of the other boys, Bobby Elvis and Chief Hunter, Dayton and Boone, it started by doing a USO tour in 2009 when we went to Iraq and Kuwait, and we got really immersed in the troops and the military and the men and women of our armed forces, and we really, wanted to do as much as we could because we come to realize that Sons of Anarchy is everybody in the military's favorite show. So it was okay, we're going to do everything we can. And then, we got tied in with the Boot Campaign. It was really Kim and I who hooked up with them. I became an ambassador for them, and I basically, travel all over to all the different bases all over the United States and overseas and just try to, hang out with the troops and just, tell them thank you. And then I was, like I do every year, when Suns wraps on the season, I go to Staten Island, where I grew up. I don't go away. I don't like beaches. I don't need to do any of that. Sorry, my dogs are going berserk.
No problem. Sounds like a big dog, though.
I have 3 big dogs. Yes, they're amazing. If you knew the way these dogs, my dogs eat better than most human beings on the planet. By the way, I just want to let you know that. They just finished eating, so now they're just going to start barking.
Nice.
So then I go to Staten Island, and I was there, and I was hanging out, and Sandy hit. And, I've told the story a million times. Nobody thought it was going to be a big deal. It was obviously a huge deal. I've never seen anything like it. And me and, all my friends that I grew up with, who I hadn't seen in a long time, people who I had seen every day, people who I haven't talked to since kindergarten, just all came together collectively and started, cleaning out houses and getting people to safer places and donating stuff and organizing stuff. And all of a sudden, within a day or two, we kind of came up with this, okay, we need to organize. And we really fell back on social media, on Twitter and Facebook, and that was the way to get people to say, okay, I'm here and I need this, or where are you, where's this? And we really used it in a fantastic way, which is why I'll never knock social media again, because it was used so... it was just used such to our benefit to help so many people. And in doing that, we kind of came up with Staten Strong. And because I'm part of the boot campaign, we were able to immediately become active with websites and donation pages and Facebook pages and Twitter pages. And the boot campaign, because it's up and running and now one of the I think maybe the fastest growing nonprofit in the United States, and now apparently all over. You just, when you said Boot Campaign Canada and all that, we were able to really get on our feet as fast as possible because I'm ambassador for the Boot Campaign, and now it's just exploded. We have raised a ton of money. We have absolutely zero overhead. The only things that every dollar that comes in, we are the most transparent nonprofit I've ever been involved in, because we literally, if you buy a T-shirt, the only thing we do is pay for the cost of the T-shirt, the $5 or whatever, and every dollar goes right into people's hands who are affected by this storm. And here's what people don't know. So many things have happened since Sandy. So many things, so many tragic things throughout the United States, throughout the world, and people forget really fast. Everybody has short memories. And I'll be back in New York in 2 weeks again, and I'll be there setting up these new next events that we have. We are in the process, I think this Saturday, of finishing our first house, that we actually rebuilt a house.
Wow.
The sad thing is that, and I hate to say this, there is no insurance companies giving money. These government things that they're passing, I have not seen anybody get $1. And all these enormous nonprofits, I'm not here to knock any of them. I am on the streets. I am literally with the people. My team is there with these people, handing out gift cards every day to Home Depot, to Target, and no one is getting any assistance from anybody. And we are like a little rinky-dink charity. We are a little nonprofit that's like just trying our best.
Wow.
For us, we're trying to do this because we just don't know where everyone else is. And we're just trying to, it's our community, it's where we grew up, and that's why we say Staten Strong, because it's like we're going to do this together. We don't need anybody's, we wish we could get help from anybody, but we're going to keep moving forward because that's what you have to do in life. You got to keep moving forward no matter what the obstacles are in front of you. So that's what we're doing. So everything is on statenstrong.org, statenstrong.com. You could like us on Facebook. We have Staten Strong on Twitter. We're everywhere. We're trying anything we can. We're doing events. Kim, Ron, Tig and Clay hosted our big event, our first big event, 2 days after Christmas, December 27th, which is why I love those guys so much, because they flew out to Staten Island 2 days after Christmas to do this event with me, and we raised over $100,000 in one night. Just because the Suns fans showed up in droves to Staten Island to come to this event.
Wow.
And that's why, we do have the best show. That's why I've said 1,000 times, 1,000,000 times, that we have the best fans, because our fans they're not like, I've done a lot of TV shows. You know, I'm around a lot of people who are on TV shows. Our fans are like, they're so great. They know everything about the show. They're so involved, and they're so loyal, and I don't think we could ever express enough how thankful we are for that. We wish we could run for 20 years because our fans are so great.
And a lot of people wish you would do that too, because
yeah, I don't know how many of us would be alive.
Yeah.
Might just be able, and you know, but that's it.
Theo Rossi joining us on the program, plays Juice on Sons of Anarchy, also co-founder of Staten Strong. Yeah, it's amazing what you're doing, Theo, with Staten Strong, what you're doing for everyone in Staten Island. Not a lot of people, like you kind of hinted at, you know, they don't really talk about it, but there's still a lot of problems there, and you guys definitely are doing your best out there to kind of help people out there and put some smile on people's faces, and I think that's fantastic.
That's what we're trying to do every day. You know, we have, you know, we document everything, and we're going to these houses and just telling people that, you know, I know everybody else might have forgot about you. The media might have forgot about you. Even the newspapers, you know, locally forget about people. It's like we didn't. We're still here. We're not going anywhere. We're going to do this until every single person is back in their house, the mold is removed, until they can get themselves. These aren't destitute people. These are people who are just, you know, who have, you know, regular jobs, middle class, you know, low to middle class. That's what Staten Island always was. And there obviously there are some, you know, rich areas, and even those areas were really affected. And I don't care how rich you are. When you lose everything, you know, it's hard to ask for help. It's hard to, you know, so we're just doing what we can, and we're lucky enough that between all of us, there's about 10 of us now. We know everybody, and everybody knows us. So, you know, with all these social media things that I just, you know, talked about, it's so easy to reach us, and we're really like, that's why I'm on Twitter all the time, just trying to help people and do the best we can. So we're trying. So that's all we can do, right?
We'll help you out as well. Get the word out here at nextsportstar.com, and I'll put it on my Twitter and Facebook as well, because we'll, you know, it's definitely a good cause, and people need help out there in Staten Island, and we'll be more than happy to get the word out here.
Thank you, brother.
No problem. Theo, I do want to talk a little bit about Sons. The past season of the show was over the top. When I've had Kim on, we've talked about it, and I think this probably was the best season. It seems every year gets better and better. How exciting was it to be a part of the show?
You know, man, I mean, it is truly, you know, it's so life-changing for someone like me. I mean, I bounced around for a long time, you know, the most I had ever really done with TV series was kind of recurrings, where I do a couple episodes here and there. Never really did a regular gig on a show. And from the beginning, this kind of, from 2008, when we started this journey, I mean, it's just been nothing but, it's as incredible as anybody could imagine, because, you know, we love each other. We love doing the show. We love playing these characters, and we are as close as it looks on the show, you know, and I think that's what transcends through the screen. So for us, you know, we're just a bunch of guys and girls, you know, hanging out, having fun, and just taking Kurt's amazing writing and putting it out there for you guys. And the stories for us, man, I mean, we're as excited as you guys are, you know, who will watch it, because, you know, every year, every episode, forget every season, every episode kind of reads like a finale, where you turn that last page in the table read, you know, a couple of days before you shoot it, and you're like, what is, oh my God. You know, so it's like, whether it be, you know, obviously the huge things that happen, you know, with Abel in the car when Gemma crashed, and, you know, Tara getting arrested, and obviously Opie, and throughout the years, the Piney stuff, and then with me, you know, dangling from a tree, and all this stuff. It's like, you see this stuff and you read it, and then when you watch these, you know, my family, which I call them, when you watch them bring it to life, it's just extraordinary. So the whole process has been nothing short of amazing for me, life-changing in more ways than I can ever, discuss now. I mean, maybe when I go back and do my memoirs, when I'm like Kim and Ron's age, like 80 or however old they are, and when I write my my life story, I'll just say, because this has been every year. So last season, I mean, for me, obviously, it's been like this. Juice started off as this. He was the funny guy.
Yeah.
It started off with me and Kim. If everybody remembers, God, it seems so long ago. But Tig and Juice, it was like the third episode of the first season when I fed that dog the crank.
Yeah.
And we were having fun, and it was like I was going to be that guy. It was the funny guy, and he was the guy that was going to kind of be the numb nuts and the lap dog and all this. And then season 4, it all changed, and he got himself in the worst position possible. And I've been, kind of clawing my way out since, in one way or another. And I think for me, the way season 5 ended, as terrible and as horrible as Juice felt for what he did to Clay, at the end, Gemma and Juice, but mainly, Jax tasked Juice to do it, set up Clay. Jax kind of gave me that, the I'm all good kind of thing with that thing at the end, the kiss on the forehead, the I'm proud of you, and that's kind of what I've always wanted. So now it'll be really interesting to see where that goes, because like I said, you guys know as much as us. We go back in May. We premiere sometime in September like we always do. So we're as excited to kind of find out where it all goes. And then just to give props to like certain people, I mean, Kim was literally outstanding this year. And then to see what I think is the brilliance of Kurt and Sons of Anarchy, and nobody can deny this who's listening to this. If you didn't feel bad for Clay in that last episode, there's something wrong with you, because everybody, even as horrible as he is, as horrible as he's been, as all the stuff he's done, you kind of felt bad for him. And that's the kind of magic of that show. It's like, just like how things switch. Like, Jackson's gone to like this aggressive kind of, smashing girls' faces and doing, so it's fun for me, because I watch the show as a fan. I don't even watch it like I'm on it. I can honestly fast forward through my parts. I watch it as a fan. I'm a huge fan of the show and what's been created. So it's exciting. It's exciting to see it all progress throughout the years.
And Theo, when Kim was on here, we talked about one of the big roles that he had this year, and that was his daughter on the show being burned alive, and how intense that episode was, and how he had to prepare himself for that. I mean, every week, Theo, like I can't sit still on my couch, because there's so many times during the show when I think someone's going to get whacked, and the show's done such a good job at keeping you on your toes, us fans, that is. Yeah,
he's listen, man, there's no better writer in the business. I mean, nobody knows the world like Kurt. Nobody knows Sons of Anarchy. That's why, for me, as an actor, it just really makes your job, almost effortless in a way, because when you trust in the stuff you're saying, and you trust in where the story's going, and you trust in the way it is, it's just so much fun. And that's what I love about it. That's why when we are shooting, and we shoot, we grind it out, the season in the 5.5 months that we do it. But we just love being there. We love being together. We love being there, because it's especially now, we're kind of coming on the other side of that mountain. We know the show's not going to run forever. We know we're not all going to be around forever. Losing Opie was kind of the beginning for us, where we were like, oh, wait a second. This show's not going to be on forever, and that was kind of the beginning. So we just take every day as a blessing, and we're happy to be doing it, and we're so glad that everybody's so into it. Really are.
And Theo, it shows. You mentioned how close you guys are, and you could see that in a video I saw that Entertainment Weekly put out maybe a couple months ago, with Jax and Bobby cutting Opie's beard off with the samurai knife.
Yeah.
Jax and Opie both getting really emotional, and you could see how tight all you guys are. And when someone dies on the show, I mean, someone who's been on the show for as long as you guys have, it's really tough losing that person on the show.
Yeah. Well, you know, because you become a family. You know, whether you like it or not, you're around each other at all times. And like families, you know, you fight, you love each other, you argue, you know, you hang out, you eat together, you travel together, you do everything together, and you become, you know, when we started this, we didn't know each other from, you know, from a stranger, and now we just knew each other from our work, and now we're like, you know, I mean, I talk to these guys, I feel like every day I talk to at least one of them, at least, you know, so it's just, that's kind of the way it's become, and it's cool, and at the same time, it's like, you know, we're excited to go back, but at the same time, it's like, we don't know how much longer, you know, the show's going to run. We just know we'll be there next season, and we're really excited for it. But I think as long as the fans keep watching, you know, and I know Kurt has a plan, and you know, we're as excited as everybody else to see where it's going to go. You know, only he knows.
Theo, out of all the scenes you've done on Sons, is there one scene that's maybe a favorite of yours that you've done? Not to put you on the spot.
No, not at all. I mean, I think, you know, for me, the most intense scene, like the one that I kind of really enjoyed doing, and I was so happy with the way it kind of played out, was the Miles killing. You know, the fighting into the, you know, the firing at a close range into his face and all. I thought that was really well done. You know, as in the directed and set up by the stunt guys, because it was so, you didn't see it coming. And then kind of the second after the shots went off in his face, it cut the commercial, and a lot of people were like, what just happened? You know what I mean? Like, what just happened? So that cinematically was definitely like one of my favorite scenes. But like for me, I mean, I love kind of the stupid, the juice stuff. And one of my favorites that a lot of people never mention is, it was the scene in the same episode as when I fed the crank to the dog.
Yeah.
With Tig, and it was later on in the episode with Tig when I was like, you know, just trying to bond with him, and he says that, you know, he says, well, I don't even want to say it on air, but he says, you know, he goes, you want to bond? All right, and he starts unbuckling his pants. He's like, how about I take my, you know, the limb and all that? He goes, then we'll bond, and I say to him, I'm like, why do you got to be like that? But that was one of my favorites, because that was when Kim and I kind of developed this kind of like Tig and Juice thing, not just like on the set, but like kind of off it. You know, we do all these events together, and we do whatever. And that was kind of the moment where I was like, this show's amazing. You know, it was just right there. It was kind of so that's one of my favorite scenes. That'll always be one of my favorites.
Theo, I have a question here from Terry on Twitter. She wants to know, if you could write Juice's story from here to the end, how would you write it? He would, if I could write his story from here to the end, well, I don't know. I guess you know, Juice is in such a weird place that's really tough to answer. I think that I would like to see his anger, you know, to see all of this and where it all goes, all this confusion. But, you know, where would I like to see him? I don't know. I'd like to see him standing at the end. How about that? I'd like to see him. Go. There you go. Theo, one other question I want to ask you. I loved your tweet today that there should be a rule that studios can't remake films unless the original is at least 50 years old, has never been remade before, which is option B. And I totally agree with you. When I see that they're going to be remaking Scarface with Rihanna as one of the lead playing, what's her name? The name is
Michelle Pfeiffer.
Yeah, Michelle Pfeiffer's role, and that they're remaking The Goonies and the remade Footloose. I've been ranting about this for weeks on this show about how Hollywood is got to come up with some new ideas.
Whoever decided, and I don't know who it is, whoever decided to remake Goonies should literally go stand in a public arena and get repeatedly kicked in the nuts. That is the worst idea I've ever heard in my life. Literally the worst. And then what I should have put on was option C, which is just don't do it.
Yes.
And then of course, you know, there's always exceptions. You know, there is The Departed, there is Batman, which are just tremendous films. You know, even the Superman coming out by Legendary and Zack Snyder or whoever, I think, and Nolan's behind it, looks great. You know, but at the same time, as great as those are, I just want, I guess for me, I just wish there was just more originality, like things like, for me,
yes,
the Beasts of the Southern Wild, and, you know, a lot of these films that I like, you know, and a lot of the films that are even nominated this year. And I'm not saying that, I guess for me it's just remakes are just, I don't know, I guess the majority of them are really awful. Yes, there are some, now there's not even remakes anymore, now there's like reboots.
Yeah.
And redos. I think they should just call them like, we made a mistake, we're going to do a new one.
Yeah, exactly. And you know it's bad when they're remaking movies like Fast Times at Ridgemont High they're talking about now too. They just did Red Dawn, Footloose. I mean, it never ends, and it just kind of gets me angry when I see this.
Yeah, it's just, well, it's Hollywood.
Absolutely. Theo, before I let you go again, I know between Sons and all your other projects, you've been quite busy, along with your charitable work. Any other upcoming projects you want to promote here on the show?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many things going on. If this was a couple of days later, I wish I could tell you guys something else. You know, I also have my production company. We're in the middle of getting into pre-production on our first film, which is just, you know, I will have much more details soon once I get a few things locked down and we can release that. And then, you know, back to Staten Island on the 1st to, you know, get back there on the ground with my team, and then and get some things going with that. And then, like I said, we're filming stuff for the boot campaign for Sturgis. You know, I'm actually supposed to, we're going to see if the dates work out, get over to Japan, Guam, and Hawaii to go visit the troops in March.
Oh, that's awesome.
With a few of the SOA boys. Your boyfriend Tig will be with me as well. I'm going to hopefully get over there and do that if we can juggle some schedules. So, you know, just keeping things going, keeping things moving, and trying to stay sane at the same time.
Awesome. Theo, it was a real pleasure having you on the show. Really appreciate you stopping by. Again, what you're doing with Staten Strong and the boot campaign is awesome, and we will do our part here to promote that on all our social media pages as well. Thanks so much, Theo, for doing this.
Yeah, thank you so much, and thanks for having me. And anytime you guys want, man, we can work it out. If you'll have me again, I'll be on. So thank you so much.
Definitely. I look forward to it.
All right, brother. Take it easy.
You too, buddy. That was Theo Rossi joining us on this show. We're going to head to break. Coming up next, we're going to talk a little hockey with Dave Pagnotta from thefourthperiod.com. That's coming up next on The Nightcap. Don't go away.